Welcome to UK Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Trevor Stockwell. Thanks for joining me, along with my guest, Tamar Martinez. Now, Tamar, before I introduce you and before we dive into the interesting topic we're going to talk about, what's the big takeaway that listeners are going to get from our discussion today?
Just a little bit about understanding how trauma actually affects the body and how we inherit generational trauma and how it hasn't been easy for women to actually release trauma, and just having a little bit more of knowledge about that and how we can release it and be set free from it.
Wow, sounds really good. Yeah, I'm certainly interested in finding out more, even though I'm not a woman. I know lots that definitely. So for everybody that's listening, maybe you've not yet met Tamar. She's a transformologist and a life skills coach, amongst many other talents, but she helps women deal with internal wounds, past traumas, that sort of stuff, anything that's holding them back really from experiencing true freedom, so that they can reach new heights in business and different aspects of life. Certainly lots we can learn. Tamar has overcome many things herself, and now helps women heal to discover their best, truest self. It's going to be a great discussion. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing your part of your story with us. Anyway, welcome, Tamar Martinez.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
No, it's not every day you meet a transformologist, I must admit.
I know.
Having looked at your bio, I know you've had quite a rocky road. You've had lots of different experiences over your fairly short life. You are still very young. Give us a little bit of a glimpse of your background, your journey that brought you to the place where you're helping people the way you are now.
Well, long story short, okay, I have gone through a lot in my life, like you said, a lot of traumatic experiences, from going to I don't even know how many different schools, to traveling so much. At the age of 19, I had already lived in more than 40 houses and 7 or 8 countries. So it has been a lot. I've experienced abuse, emotional and other types, where it has taken me to places in my life that I have experienced a lot of pain. And that led me to experience very toxic, codependent relationship with partners and other people. And I would always react a certain way because they were always a catalyst of my pain, right? I do believe that people reflect things about ourselves that we don't know, so yes, we can become conscious. And it wasn't until I suffered enough, I think I want to say, we don't start changing and asking questions or challenging ourselves until we actually suffered enough, we have reached rock bottom. Yeah.
It's kind of sad, but it's true, isn't it? Generally, human nature will soldier on, or we'll just either suppress it, we'll deny it, we'll just kind of procrastinate dealing with it for however long. But yeah, you're right. The pain gets to a point where it's actually, I need to do something about it. So what was maybe then the step or the trigger that sort of led you in the direction of where you've gone now? Because you've done your yoga instructor and amongst other things, so you've done a lot of different sort of explorations about different methods of healing and relaxation and all that sort of stuff. What would sort of, it's a big question, I know. But I'm curious as to how did you get to where you are now? Because you work with epigenetics, don't you? Which we'll dig into a little bit more in a mo. But just how did you get to that point?
I got to the point where I am because I'm very curious, and I've tried to heal my wounds for 10 years trying. That's why I tried so many different experiences, therapies, from counseling, psychology, like all of the more cognitive ones, and they worked until a certain level. And then I had to work more with the unconscious mind. That would be, I did hypnotherapy, I did NLP, timeline therapy, all these kind of therapies. And then trauma, I did a lot of trauma work, working with the body. And it, like, I got to a place after doing all this healing and working so much of myself that I'm like, I can't go any further. Like these things are not changing.
Yeah.
So I was like a little bit desperate, and I was to a point that I'm like, maybe some things cannot be healed, you know? And that took me to where I am, and found this other modality that explained why women, we don't get the results that we get, and how men and women are so different, and how most of the therapies, traditional therapies from psychology, even like science and everything, was created by the male perspective. So it makes sense that it doesn't really work 100% for a female.
Yeah.
Well, that opened a can of worms, and I'm like, what? So yeah, I started researching about epigenetics, and how we inherit past trauma, and how it actually has been proved. And yeah, and learning more about how a woman works, how the unconscious of the female works, and how we're so different from men. Not that it's bad for them, like there's so many therapies out there that work for men, like thank God, right?
Yeah.
But for women, there's not a lot. So this is why I'm so passionate about like sharing with women what I know, and how they can clear and break generational patterns and trauma and beliefs and things that are blocking them from like so much pain from the past.
Yeah. You touched on it a bit just as you in your introduction about the fact that it affects all the relationships that we have, doesn't it?
Yes.
When there's something that's, I want to say, broken, or just not functioning as it should, or we're not functioning as we should because of stuff that's happened to us in the past, not necessarily our fault, but we're the ones responsible for sorting it out, aren't we, to ourselves, in a sense. And it affects business, it affects any sort of relationship,
everything
that you're in. So it's such a key area. Maybe just for people that don't understand or know what epigenetics is, without getting too much in the science, just how would you define it?
It's basically a part of a part of science that explains how we inherit genes from our ancestors. So it's not only the type of like the color of our skin, or the type of the hair that we inherit. We actually inherit like all the information, past experience that were not resolved down to the generations. So it's like inheriting all of unresolved stuff that our parents and grandparents and ancestors never resolved. So that information is imprinted, and it is basically in our genes and our cells. So that is passed down to generations.
Okay, and then that affects our behaviors and how we interact, and our perspective about sort of our environment, the world around us, I suppose. And as you say, when we interact with others, some people reflect sort of our toxicity without us realizing it. We can see it in other people and kind of not agree with it or not think it's right, but then discovering it in ourselves is a whole different ball game, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. and you can see families and like generations of families, like from like the grandparent was a very anxious person, and the daughter and the like it goes on. It like our personality, this is what I truly believe, like our personality and our fears and like our ego is created from a trauma response.
Yeah.
When I say trauma, I don't say something really big that happens to somebody. Like there's different levels of trauma, different types of trauma. Something that is very traumatic is an experience that somebody goes through in their life, that they have an emotional reaction and they're not able to release that energy from that emotion, and they get stuck into that moment. So there becomes a split from their real self, and that part of their personality gets created, right? Yeah, and that is shown to us from experiences and relationships, so we can heal and come back to being whole, if that makes sense.
No, I'm just thinking, like, it's powerful in lots of ways, isn't it? It's like we operate from our default perspective, which is formed over a period of time. As we grow up, we develop, we interact with the world of different people. And then in some ways, like, unless we are consciously aware that we've had a traumatic experience that has kind of shifted us from the best optimal way to behave and to think and to interact with people, we then work on our default is the baseline that, you know, is fine. And we don't know what we don't know until we get some sort of insight, some sort of external help a lot of the time, or some like a conversation like this could be the very trigger that actually gets us thinking, yeah, maybe there's more, you know, fulfillment out there than what I've currently experienced. So this is all really good stuff. The process, the methodology that you use, you can guarantee results, can't you?
Yes.
To some extent, sort of asterisk, people have to get involved and work with you, I suppose, as part of the outcome of that. How, again, another broad question, but people that are listening may be thinking, I've never heard of epigenetics, don't really understand all this, not sure if I believe that this is really going to make a difference to me. How can you kind of address some of those doubts? Because anything new that we hear, usually we can be quite skeptical, quite cautious, and all the rest of it. I'm sure, you know, everyone's somewhere on that scale as they listen to us now. But how can we understand how we can get results better?
That's a really good question, because I find a lot of people, we always, like, our minds wants to understand what we're going to do, why we have the results that we have, why are we acting the way we act, and why is this the way it is. And it's like, does it really matter? As long as it gives you results, like, who cares? And for those people that might not believe in that, like, there's a lot of information online. Like, you hit epigenetics and you can find so much information from, like, there's this really amazing guy called Bruce Lipton that he talks about the biology of beliefs, and talks about epigenetics and everything. So it's not something that it's new. It is something that is being out there a little bit more. And I believe that if somebody has a little bit of hesitant, look at that. Like, there's a little bit of resistance in that person to trust. No, you don't have to trust. Just be open-minded and be curious. You never know.
Yeah. A lot of the time, the thing that can be, if we realize a resistance, it can be based in a fear of experience from the past, and that could actually be the very thing that, what caused the fear? That's what's not actually helping you maybe approach a business relationship as well as you could, because there's a fear of, you know, whatever. I'm conscious that we've only got a short period of time as we chat about this. It's such a deep topic, because humans, we're complex. We're simple in some ways, but we're very complex in others. And a lot of the stuff that happens in the world, in our environments, our experiences, they all, like, no experience doesn't mark us one way or another, does it? Either positive or negative. And kind of the phrase, hurt people. So when we're broken, when we're not operating as well as we can, we unintentionally, a lot of the time, interact with others in a way that doesn't leave them whole, maybe doesn't leave them healthy as well as they could. So it is a big topic, but it's all good. If we don't talk about it, explore it, and learn more about it, then we're never going to change for the better, are we? So
absolutely. I like to say that, like, humans were like a big puzzle, and together we find out who we are, because self cannot analyze self. We only learn who we are through relationships. So if somebody has a big trigger, or just a small trigger that experiences with whoever in their life, there's something to be looked at. So always bringing it back to oneself. It's never about anybody else. The other person is always a reflection of you, and we project stuff to them.
Yeah. I like what you said earlier. Like, it doesn't have to be what we would necessarily define as huge traumas.
Exactly.
That needs kind of tweaking repairing, fixing, healing, however, whatever word you want to use, but yeah, to get us from where we are to a better way of operating. Obviously they're more recognizable, I think, a lot of the time, but yeah, it's like anything, is it? There's different interventions for different things. Anything that helps us discover more about why we tick the way we do, how we respond, why we react certain ways, is all useful stuff, I think.
Absolutely.
So you're a creatix transformologist. Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Now, before I was looking at your bio today, I'd not heard of that before. Maybe that's just part of the circles that I operate in. I've still got things to learn. But when you started your business, reaching out to people and that, what was the biggest challenge you had? Was it sort of educating people of what it is, or just how you can get the benefits of it, or just, yeah.
Well, I don't have it, like, it's not super new. It's fairly new. It's been out there for a little bit more than 10 years. And transformology, I like to say it, we like to say it as the psychology of transformation for women. So it's basically somebody that understands the female unconscious mind, understands how we operate, that we're not linear like men are. I do believe that men have a cycle, but it's a little bit different than the one that we have. Yeah. And taking into account that we have a uterus, something that creates life within us, that it's not given that much importance. And things like, did you even know that up until like 1990s, science didn't even test on female mice? They would only do it in male mice castrated at birth. There was no evidence and proof or studies done on females.
Wow.
So that says a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a reason why there's more than 75% of the audiences of personal development, the personal development audiences are females.
Wow.
We have to look around and see what's going on. We're not getting the results that we're getting. And sometimes it's not so much about what we've gone through and the story, and because the more we tell our story, the more we recreate it in our mind, and our body, the unconscious mind, believes it, because the unconscious mind doesn't understand the difference between the past and the present. It only knows now. So if you keep on telling the story all the time, you're recreating those neural pathways in your brain through your body, and it's telling the story again. So it's just giving a little bit more of knowledge. I do get a little bit of resistance, and it's hard to take in that something can guarantee you a result, because nothing out there has guaranteed you a result. And to be honest, when I first knew about this, I was like, no, you can't do that. How can you guarantee a result that your issues are going to disappear? It was really I could not take it in until I tried it. And I was like, okay, now I know.
Yeah. We are made actually to operate in a whole perspective, aren't we? Just, whether we're suffering from a disease, an illness, or a trauma, something more emotional, it's not our optimal where we're supposed to be. No. For anybody listening that's struggling with anything, that's not in any way condemnation. It's more just an awareness that there's a better state that we can all be in than what we are in. And it's interesting what we say about we know ladies and men are different, but just the fact that a lot of the studies has been a lot more from the male perspective. It's not going to answer all the questions. The reason why ladies are different to guys, both are good. I have no issue.
Absolutely.
But I think in lots of ways, and there's more awareness of it now, just the whole gender struggles, but ladies have had the short straw, I think, over a long period of time, just when it comes to even playing field, in lots of different ways. And that's a path we won't go down today because of time. But it's really good that ladies can help ladies, ladies understand ladies.
Yeah.
And to a large extent, and don't write me about this, men don't fully understand ladies. And that's part of the joy. That's part of the fun of it, I think. But yeah, I understand how a guy thinks generally. I can work out bits of how ladies think, but it makes a lot more sense that ladies help ladies in lots of different ways. When it comes to the deep emotional stuff, you've got an advantage over guys. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
For guys that are listening, we all know ladies, women, we really do. So anything that we learn from this conversation, we can help the people, the women in our world as well. And it's good to be more aware of what's going on. So maybe for people, for the women that are listening, or if we as guys share the episode with women that we know to help them sort of understand and learn a bit more, what would be some of the first sort of practical steps that, just from listening to our conversation, women can kind of start that process of discovery? I guess is the first thing of, what is it that is holding me back? And maybe in lots of ways, if we're honest with ourselves, there's probably areas where we feel, I know I'm not functioning as well as I could here in this area, but I don't know how to articulate that. I don't know how to start the process. What would be maybe the first practical step people can take on that road towards discovery?
Well, first, like you said, having an awareness that something is not right, that's the first step, I would say. And being truly honest that there's something going on. And then from there, once you acknowledge that, you can ask for help. Because sometimes, like I said before, self cannot analyze self. So we always need somebody else to help us. And there is a lot of information if we want to go and find. There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's so much out there.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of being curious and being open and having this responsibility frame mind that I can change, because we are the co-creators of our life. Carl Jung, who's a psychologist, very, very famous psychotherapist, said once, if we don't make the unconscious conscious, it will become our destiny or something like that.
Yeah.
And that is so true. So if you don't like the life that you have, and there's a lot of troubles and trauma and drama and stuff like that, chances are there's a lot of unconscious stuff that you're not aware of. Yes. So just by becoming aware of something and then having that open mind to share and being vulnerable, because we're so scared of being vulnerable and being real because we're scared of being hurt.
Yes. Which is that cycle, isn't it? Again. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. We can be our own worst enemies in lots of ways, in the self-preservation perspective and how we look at it. Yeah. That's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Once I've resisted asking you this, probably the worst question I could ask you of how long does it take to get healing? I'm not going to ask you that because it depends on the individual. So you were okay. I've bypassed that one completely. But let's kind of jump to the point where people have maybe gone through the process of healing. How are there any strategies, or do you have any habits or specific behaviors yourself where you then maintain? Are you more guarded and more aware of similar pitfalls sort of in the path ahead as you encounter different experiences, that no, I'm not going back there? So again,
I see what you're saying.
Big question. We've only got a short space of time to answer it. So maybe how would you maintain your self-worth, your healing, your feelings of well-being once you've come out the other side of it?
Okay, so like you said, everybody's in their own little journey and everybody's different and everybody's in their own steps. So one people are more of on the unconscious, more of a victim mentality, others are in more responsibility mode. the what they say about healing takes time, that in itself is a belief, because that's how we've experienced it in the past. For me, I do my own therapy. Like when there's a block that comes up and then I feel a trigger, what I do is I call my transformologist and I do the work, because it takes me like one session and I deal with my issue, and it like clears it from a root gene level. So I won't have that problem anymore. And it can take me, like the work that I do is, it can take from 5, 6, 8 weeks. Wow. And all the issues are gone. Yeah. Like traditional therapy can take you 10, like, or a lifetime. Like it took me 10 years to be where I am. And it has taken me 6 weeks to clear a lot of the issues that I hadn't cleared in all these 10 years.
Yeah, that's huge, isn't it? Like you say, you can live for years with wounds and kind of different traumas and stuff from the past. I was going to say baggage in a positive way.
I get what you're saying.
We just carry it around with us as though that's then part of who we are. And to be able to turn it around. I like what you said as well. There's some level of external input that's needed.
Yeah.
For all of us, in whatever kind of intervention you want to use that, we need, because we have blind spots, because we don't see the whole picture ourselves. What I found for me, part of sort of the discovery, the healing process, is talking it out to someone. Just talking about it, because then you learn more, don't you? You kind of, by talking, you bring the subconscious stuff into the conscious realm, and you start thinking about it.
And you have an like a perspective of how things are, and then somebody else reflects back at you and tells you another perspective, and you're like, oh, maybe not what I believe is the truth. There's so many different sides of the truth. Yeah.
What we think is the main thing that's controlling our life at the moment. It's like, no, there's lots of other options, lots of other perspectives. It's partly what you touched on before, the personal responsibility, where we want to be in a position where we want to change, isn't it? I suppose part of it, hopefully from this discussion, people have got a greater hope that actually I don't have to stay as I am. I can improve in certain areas, or I can maybe start the discovery process of what is it that is actually holding me back. Because maybe it's a smaller thing than what people might perceive to be the issue. It's like anything, isn't it? Like the way I look at it is, if there's fruit in your life, then there's a root that's producing that. If there's some sort of limiting belief, there's a root to why you've adopted that belief, and all of that can change, can't it? That's the positive stuff. So if anyone's listening and struggling with stuff, hang in there, have hope. We can definitely change, heal, but we do need help from other people at different times, in different forms. I think when we're ready, we then become more aware of different opportunities. And if you're hearing this, maybe that you're at the point where you're ready for that next step of discovery or curiosity, as Tamar's mentioned. This is really good. What would be, again, maybe this is different for different people going through it, but just as we sort of start to wrap up, what would sort of working with you with a transformologist look like?
Okay, so it would look like, I would like it is done with eyes closed, and we would find the issue that is going on for that person. Like, we don't have to go into the story of your past and everything. Let's just find whatever the trigger is and dig deep and find what's going on. And then I take them through a journey where they're very active. It's not like hypnotherapy, but they're having their eyes closed. And then I take them to a place in their mind where they go to that place where that issue originated, and then they learn what they needed to learn, and let whatever they got stuck to release that, because we only us know the what we went through, and we only need like really our own learnings. I cannot come and tell you need this and because I don't know. Right? So I would take them to that space where they could get all the learnings And it takes like about an hour and a half. And after that, we're done. It's transformational. Yeah.
It's like undoing the bag, taking out all the stuff that you've been carrying around, and then shut the bag, isn't it? Close the bag.
Literally like that. Like it just goes so deep within. It goes to the place where all the gurus and all these big masters tells you everything that you need is inside of you. Yet nobody tells you how to get there, right?
Yeah.
So Creatrix is a way for women to get there.
Okay, well, that sounds really good. Yeah, bit envious now.
Well, I mean, don't be like men. I'm not like, you're not being put on the side. Like there's all of the like NLP, timeline therapy, all of those work really well for men, and it's fantastic. It's just finding something that works the same, like for men. So like, because otherwise we're left behind. We're always left behind.
No, there's always help, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. There is a lot of stuff there for men. A lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. You saved the day. No, that's really good. So for people, how would people touch base if they want to kind of explore how to get sort of involved, connected with you, and find out a little bit more about what you do and what it would look like for the individual circumstances of where they are?
It really depends of every single person. Also, like I said before, we all have different issues and different experiences. But the first thing that I would do is I have an Instagram account. It's at Tamar Viva with like V, the slower V.
Yep.
Then my website at tamarviva.com. On Facebook, the same name, and they can always book a free consultation with me, and I'm happy to have a conversation with them and tell them exactly what is like overall what's blocking them and how we can proceed from there and the best option for them.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds really good. There'll be links in the show notes below as well. So don't go to tamarmartinez.com. That's
no. Well, that's
I was looking earlier, thought, okay, that's not
Tamar Martinez is like my legal kind of name, and the one that I use for my business is Tamar Viva, which is another different story that I don't want to get into.
No, that's fine. Easy, people just click the link below.
Yeah.
Whenever you're listening to this, there'll be a link, and follow through and have a discussion.
Yeah.
We've had a conversation today, and it's already sort of shone light on different areas and different ways that we can all get help.
Absolutely.
If we're willing, specifically on this, men don't ring.
This is actually really good for men, because if women are happy, they don't have to like men. I think men only want women to be happy, and so
it's a win-win all round, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it ripples through, as we say. There's the life aspect, the day-to-day life. There's the business aspect as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we're involved in, we have relationships, don't we?
Absolutely.
So the better that we can live and experience and enjoy life ourselves, the better influence we are on the people that are our clients, that are potential clients, or just people that we're there to serve and to help through products and services that we have as well.
Absolutely.
Family members as well. Maybe there's not the business aspect to it, but we've all got a part to play in helping other people, haven't we? I think that's the whole point of why we're on the planet together. There's a community aspect to it as well. And that's where we really find the greatest fulfillment, I think.
Absolutely.
But that's another discussion for another day as well.
It sure is.
Thank you for what you've shared today.
Thank you.
It has been brief, but it's been deep as well, to the point where you've given us hope. Hopefully people listening will kind of think, right, I'm certainly going to get curious. I'm certainly going to stop and think, what's the stuff appearing in my life? What's the resistances that actually maybe I'm not happy with, or I don't feel are the right things? And ask someone close to you that will be honest with you and say, actually, you're really good at this, but you struggle with this, or this is where you seem to react. This is a button that you have, a trigger that you have, something like that. Just start a discussion to explore, actually, where can I just make a few tweaks? Doesn't have to change your whole life top to bottom, right from the start. It's a journey, isn't it? It's a journey of growth, journey of discovery. And there'll be something, I'm sure, that we can all benefit from. You've got me thinking more just from a coaching aspect and all of that. Completely different sort of intervention and topic, but yeah, just from what you said, it's got me thinking a bit more about how I help clients and things like that, which is good. But let's wrap this up for now. So anybody that wants to find out more, as we said, click through the links to Tamar's website, catch her on Instagram, find out and explore something that you want to change, or just investigate something that you can focus on to make a positive impact in your life, and go forwards from there. Thanks again, Tamar, for your time. It's been really good. Thank you
so much.
We now understand what a transformologist is.
Transformologist is.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good Scrabble word as well for those that play Scrabble. Brilliant. No, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Just for everybody listening as well, be encouraged. There is hope. There is a way that you can heal from stuff that's gone on. You can find a way. It's different for different people. We have different paths. Your next step, you'll discover and you'll learn as you start to explore. Certainly reach out to Tamar, have a conversation, and see if it's a good fit for where you are, for what the next step is for you. With everything, we believe in you and we believe in your potential. There's so much more that we can give to the world, so much more that we can do ourselves, which makes life exciting, doesn't it? That's what we're passionate about. So it's really good. I will leave it there, otherwise I will just keep talking. We need to wrap this up. But thanks everyone for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Yukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18, or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.